Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Aging and Spirituality, where we explore how to live a more fulfilling life after the age of 60. I'm Chris Jensen, and this is,
I'm Kathleen Taylor.
and we are
Try not to
thrilled.
jump in there and get all excited.
Yeah, we're thrilled you're here with us. Today, we're going to dive into a question that doesn't always get asked out loud. Does it get easier or harder to express emotions after 60?
Interesting question. Where did that
For
come from?
many people, aging brings a surprising emotional shift. Some people say they feel more free, more in tune with their inner world. Others struggle, finding that years of pushing down feelings or playing roles has left them unsure of even how to start. So, what's the truth? Well, we're going to explore that. Um, and more importantly, the question is, how do we stay emotionally intelligent as we age? Because how do we grow in compassion, clarity, connection? Does the world expect us to have it all figured out by now? Or do they think we don't know anything? You know, I've come across both. And I can tell you, either way, the important thing, I think, my personal story is that you've got to stay true to whatever it is with you. Like if someone asks you a question and you know the answer, you got to be able to say, I don't know, and feel good about that.
Yeah.
I remember once talking to someone who was uh, a teacher who had taught yoga with me, and she stopped teaching. And she said one of the reasons she stopped teaching was that she couldn't answer people's questions. And I said, well, could you just say, I don't know? And we can ask, the yoga master or something. She said, well, because you think like that, that's why you can teach. She said, I felt like I had to know. You know? And I think a lot of people feel like that sometimes too when they age, like, oh, I have to know all the answers.
Oh, that people have expectations of them because they're
People,
older.
right. Well, they have expectations of themselves, like I have to have the answers,
Oh, okay, I got you. All right.
you know, and that's a problem, because you might have to say, I don't know. And that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
that just makes me laugh because how could you possibly get to that age and think you know it all? You just have to stand in a library for 5 seconds and realize I'm never going to be able to read all these books. So,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people as they age feel like they realize how much they don't know, which
they
is
don't know.
which is
Yeah,
good,
for
which
sure.
is good.
That's me. I don't know nothing.
Well, but in this episode, what we're going to explore is why emotional expression may shift in the 60s and beyond, and how life experience can deepen your emotional intelligence or shut it down. The- There's an important role in vulnerability in aging well. If we can be vulnerable, that helps us to really age well. And there are practical ways to stay emotionally resilient, expressive, and real, no matter what age. Because wisdom isn't just about what we know, it's about how we feel and how we share those feelings with others. Because when you talk to someone, what they hear is what they feel about what you're saying. And what are you feeling about it?
Mhm.
So let's begin. The emotional landscape of aging. There's emotional shifts after 60. There's hormone, neurological changes, life transitions, retirement, loss, identity shifts, more space for reflection, maybe, but also more emotional complexity. Some of the things that get harder is expressing your needs without guilt. This is something that has come up in studies. Letting go of roles, parent, professional, caretaker, that suppressed emotion, maybe, and facing old emotional habits or repression. But what gets easier is less concern about judgment, greater self acceptance, and a broader emotional vocabulary from lived experience. And I can tell you, I'm going to mention some studies later, but the National Institute of Health says there are actually things in the brain that help older people become more emotionally intelligent, not less. So that I think that's really important. I wanted to just mention that, even though I'm going to talk about the study a little
Yeah.
later, because it's easy to think, oh, I'm getting older, so everything's fading, and that's not necessarily true, unless we let it, unless we. So what is emotional intelligence and how does it age well? Well, it's self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, motivation, social skills, and emotional intelligence can grow with age. We have more perspective, more patience, richer empathy from life experiences. I mean, the more you experience, the more empathy you have for others. And also, as I said, there's some things in our wiring that get better for that. Where it can plateau or decline is if we have a trauma or a loss and we numb ourselves emotionally, or if we're isolated and lack of emotional engagement with other people. That also is an issue.
So I have a question as you're talking about emotional intelligence. How does that term in what you're talking about relate to the ability to being vulnerable? I think
Well,
vulnerability is a big issue as we get older, right? Because as you get to know yourself better, hopefully you get to this age, you're really starting to understand who you are in the inside, right? And so that requires, or it actually, as you get that relationship to be more intimate with yourself, being vulnerable seems just a natural thing to do. This is who I am. You can't like there's no dancing around it or trying to change it.
yeah,
You're just
yeah.
happy to finally be who you are, right? But so how does that not innate ability or that calling as you get older to be more vulnerable, how does that relate to being emotionally intelligent?
Well, that's a significant part of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is being able to express your genuine feelings, genuinely who
Oh,
you are.
okay.
And that takes a lot of vulnerability. Most people are afraid to do that, or they can't do it because they bottle it up.
Well, well, if it was hard for you when you're younger, right? Now you're older and there's a lot more
Mm.
what would be the word extremes of emotions in terms of what you're dealing with. You know, you're looking at end of life, you're looking at great losses that you may
Yeah.
not have experienced your entire life. You're looking at things that are
Mm.
much more intense in your third third stage of life than at any other time, you know? So being vulnerable may be as much as I said it's like a calling or you start to understand how to do it better, it may not necessarily feel good. It may not necessarily, be something that you want to do because you're really dealing with a lot of things that you have never dealt with up until now.
Hmm. Right. And so emotional intelligence is getting in touch with how you really feel about that, being able to express it and being open to how someone else really feels about things.
Mm, that's
And
interesting. Okay.
that's a challenge. It's a challenge. Even though our wiring says we should be better at it, it's a big challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
And there's some tips for doing this. I mean, I'm going to mention a few things, but mindfulness, meditation, contemplations, take the time to sit and contemplate. What am I really feeling? You genuinely. Are you honest with yourself about what you're feeling? Are you saying you're okay when you're not? Um, Name it to tame it is the other thing. Labeling emotions helps to diffuse being overwhelmed by them. So if you're having a hard time with emotions, just label it. Oh, that's anger. That's sadness.
Yeah,
That's
I can't
peace.
always do that on my own.
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
think that's probably where I need a friend a lot of the time. Like just, I'll even call somebody and say, just be my sounding board, and then I'll just go blah 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 blah. I'll
That's
say
what you should do.
whatever.
That's the
Yeah.
that's the
And
perfect
as
thing to
I'm
do.
saying it, I hear it, but I need that other person to be like feeding back to me what I just said and tell me anything that I might have missed or that I'm
Yes.
ignoring because I don't want to pay attention to it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's a
exactly
tricky
it.
one.
So that's a
Yeah.
great thing to do. That was one of the things on the list is talk to somebody that you trust, and just flush it out because they can help you flush out the feeling.
Right.
And this is exactly my next point. It was to seek out conversation partners who invite real feelings, whoever it is, a friend, a support group, and just do that so that you can
Yeah.
flush it out. And
Yeah.
drop the shoulds. There is no age limit on feeling deeply, crying, laughing, or needing comfort.
Yeah.
You don't have to, I should be okay. I should be fine. There's nothing wrong with me. It's okay to have a limit. It's okay to cry, laugh. It's okay to need some help. some company.
You know, it's sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it feels important to talk about when you're talking about safe sharing spaces. A lot of people are using Chat GPT now to put their therapy questions into and to hear stuff back, and I think it's a double-edged sword. I've had times when I've actually tried it and thought, well, that's a clever response, and it actually helped me. And other times when I thought this could be a rabbit hole that is not particularly healthy because you really do need a real person who has, lived life being there and their energy. There's something about that connection that is really powerful and much more life-giving than talking to a computer. So just for the people out there that are, using it for as a therapist, AI as a therapist, just think about that. A friend's probably a better outlet.
Yeah, I mean, generative AI like ChatGPT is all about just accumulating data, and it's not even the most recent years. They
And
just
it's always spitting out what it's been programmed.
right, it's just spitting it out, and that's not the same thing. And
Yeah.
there've been a couple of real issues. Like there was an attorney who worked for the U.S. The Attorney General, and he used ChatGPT to write a brief. And he got into
Yeah.
big trouble because ChatGPT gave him a case that didn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And here you're using it as a therapist.
Right. And as a therapist, they
Yeah.
could be
It's
giving you data
questionable.
that is so off for you.
Right. Right.
You don't know. I mean, there's a lot of issues like that. You need to talk to a real life human being.
Right.
There's a lot of things that AI can do, but and practice what's called compassionate honesty, expressing your truth with kindness. Whenever you are talking to someone else, let's say you're in a conversation with them and there you can sense what they're feeling, you want to express how you're feeling about it, you do it with kindness.
Yeah.
I had a friend who came to the yoga center with me many, many moons ago. It was a long time ago. And after she left, one of the people at the yoga center said, well, she did a lot of killing. And I said, well, what do you mean? And because she was always what she used to always say was, I have to tell my truth. But her truth was very unkind. So that's not really truth. That's,
Her truth about somebody else.
oh yeah, about whatever was going on.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and I and when this person said she did a lot of killing, I said, yeah, that's right. And in a way, it is,
Yeah.
it's like that. So
Yeah.
kindness is really important. And one of the things that can really help, Pema Chodron, she is a Buddhist monk, and she wrote a book called Loving Kindness, and she has a practice that is very simple. It's a Buddhist mindfulness practice about loving kindness, and what you do, and it's a little more in depth than we can go into right here, but the basis is you watch your breathing a little bit, you try to keep your attention on it, and then an emotion will pop up. What you do is you pay attention to that emotion. You put your awareness on it because that helps to release it.
Yes.
When you ignore emotions, and there's more to this practice than that. I really recommend it. It's a beautiful, beautiful practice. And we could someday do a whole podcast on it, but it's not a short practice that you do. There are several steps, and I think it's so helpful because it helps you allow yourself to feel the emotion, which takes energy out of it. When you don't allow yourself to feel something, it bottles up. When people lash out, it's because they've been bottling up a lot of emotion for a long time. So those are some tips. And, I want to say that emotional expression is not a young person's game. Older adults often have deeper, more nuanced emotions, but our culture doesn't always give us space for that. And I wanted to mention the studies, and there was studies done on emotional intelligence and empathy, scientific studies, and they suggest that emotional intelligence, including the ability to understand and manage emotions, can sharpen in later life. And the NIH did some scientific studies on this. Older adults may also demonstrate increased empathy and understanding in social interactions. which is also very important. You know, the longer we live, if we allow ourselves to have feelings, the more we feel for others, so the more empathy we have. And coping with negativity was something else in the studies. Older adults may be more resilient to negative emotional experience and recover faster from negative moods than younger adults. And they'd be more effective at avoiding negative distractions. So have you ever thought about all that? I mean, you know, there's so much that we have from our life's experiences. And
Yeah.
and I want to emphasize that these studies are saying that it gets better with age. So let's not block ourselves off from that.
Yeah, give yourself credit. I agree that's true. I definitely have more abilities to be able to do both of those things.
Oh, for sure I do. I know I do. I know I just age every year gets better.
Yeah.
And you know, we need to rewrite the story that says emotions are a sign of weakness, especially for men. You know, I mean, women are a little better at it, but not necessarily, or that emotions fade with age. That's ridiculous. They don't fade. Yeah. And sharing emotions after 60 is an act of leadership, not indulgence. We're showing people how to be vulnerable, emotionally intelligent human beings. And I just want to say that the truth is emotions don't fade as we age, they evolve. And if we stay open, they can become richer, wiser, more deeply human than ever before. Emotional intelligence after 60 isn't about controlling your feelings, it's about welcoming them. And that's something that I think we all at any age need to learn. Welcome your emotions, listen to them, you know, speak truthfully about them, you know, choose connection. Even if vulnerability feels risky, choose it.
That's an important point there because that's helping other people.
It's helping other people. Yeah.
You're being service there.
Yeah. Emotional intelligence is the best thing you can do for anybody you're with. Because if you're emanating it and you're giving them the space to do that, you're listening carefully to who they are and allowing them to be vulnerable. And it's risky. You know, some people will shut off to it, but they won't, they'll remember it. Even if they shut off to it initially, they will remember it and it will be helpful to them.
Yes, for sure.
So whether you're someone who's always worn your heart on your sleeve or you're just learning how to name what you feel, it's never too late to feel fully. It's never too late to grow emotionally. And it's never too late to live with heart, because the more you live with heart and love flowing, the more that helps everyone around you to grow.
You can practice every day.
Yeah, yeah, every day. So, thanks for being here with us today. I know this is a lot of stuff to swallow, but
It is, yeah.
be gentle with yourself and stay open to what you're really feeling. And sometimes it is risky to share who we really are with people, but that's the best thing you can do for them as well as yourself.
For sure. And if you like this talk, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, like, and share. We need
Yeah,
more people
please
to come
do.
and listen, okay?
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Thank you. See you
Thanks for
next week.
coming.
Bye.